we're ready to roll, aren't we?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, our digital, we're all good?
Yeah.
All right, with that, I will call this evening meeting of the Library Facilities Financing Authority to order. If you can give us a roll call and announce who we represent in the process of the roll call, that would be great.
Okay. Chair Goldstein, representative for Capitola.
Here.
Tina Schull, alternate for Martin Bernal, City of Santa Cruz.
Here.
Board member Comstock, representative for Scotts Valley.
Here.
Board member Moriello, representative for the county.
Here.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for coming up, and this is fun for me. This is my first time in the Boulder Creek Library, so I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Janice, for helping get me out here and seeing some of the other libraries. With that, is there any additional material that was submitted after the agenda was prepared, Janice? No, actually, I should have checked with our LFFA. No. Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
I do have some comments on the executive director report.
Okay. Next item is oral communications, where members of the audience may address our board on any item that's within the jurisdiction of our board, but not on tonight's agenda. You will have the opportunity to comment on our general business on tonight's agenda at the time that we get to it. At this time, would anyone like to speak to the board on public comment?
I'll say something. I mean, I just want to say, as a member of the former library board, I want to welcome the new library board to Boulder Creek. I don't know that in my tenure on the board of supervisors that we ever met up here, so it's terrific. And I just want to welcome you to Boulder Creek. I won't be able to stay too long tonight, but I'm just here to greet you, and then wearing another. This is my district, of course, in the County Board of Supervisors. But to just mention another thing that you may be bringing up, and this is as a private citizen, just to remind people of the importance of an upcoming measure that's going to be on the June ballot regarding libraries. It's going to be critical for the improvement of the whole library system, of the 10 branches in the whole library system, that this is supported. And I'm not here to campaign for it exactly, but please, at this point, but please read it. It's vital to the future of our library system, and it's about time that we address this. So I hope that the people of San Lorenzo Valley and throughout the county, Watsonville, of course, has its own system, but people of San Lorenzo Valley in particular, and of the entire county in general, give serious attention to this. In general, it's a $49.50 residential parcel tax, $82, I believe it is, for commercial properties, and that would do a lot to pay attention or give attention to each and every one of the 10 branches in the library system. So with that, welcome to Boulder Creek, welcome to the San Lorenzo Valley, and give this upcoming measure that's going to be on the June 6th ballot some serious attention. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor McPherson. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close the public comment and turn to item 5, the Executive Director report. Mr. Hill.
Great. The executive report stands as submitted, except that some 2 additional items I want to bring up to date on. We have to submit our resolutions and other languages to the Clerk of Elections by, I think, the 11th. We have done so, and we're talking to her now about that. In addition, on the 17th is the deadline for the treasurer's fiscal assessment of the measure, financial assessment of the measure. I've been talking to Edith on that. Edith Driscoll is our treasurer, and she's on her way, and I feel very comfortable that it should not be a problem in that regard. So that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. This next takes us to the consent calendar. Looks like this evening we have 2 items on our consent calendar. These are generally administrative in nature and can be handled with a single motion unless somebody from the board would like to pull an item from consent. Seeing none, would anyone from the audience like to pull an item on consent? Seeing none, I look for a motion to approve the consent calendar submitted.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And that takes us to the general business items. The first one is a contribution and reimbursement agreement between the Santa Cruz Libraries Facilities Financing Authority, Communities Financing Facilities District, and the Santa Cruz County Library Authority. We have a staff report.
Yes. So the library's facilities financing JPA was formed in December of 2014. And that created an entity within which the library's community facilities district can be formed in order to set the boundaries and place a ballot measure on the June 7th election. Both the CFD, which is formed under the Belarus Act, and the library JPA, neither of which have any revenues or assets. So the library's JPA has been financing and funding the costs for these preparatory efforts to put in place this ballot measure for June 11th in order to assure reimbursement and in order to meet the strict accounting procedures required by the Joint Exercise of Powers Act for the state of California. We've put in place this agreement, and this agreement essentially says that the LFFA, should ever receive any revenues, will reimburse, according to the agreements between the agencies, the funds that have been expended on behalf of the LFFA and the Community Facilities District until the election is successful. At which point, then we'll go ahead and put in place a reimbursement program, a plan and a schedule, and this will be secured by this agreement. It is formed, this agreement is formed for the Belarus Act, which is a lot more flexible with regards to these things, and transfers the authority to the LFFA, which was formed by the Joint Exercise of Powers Act. So you'll be approving this agreement, and then on the other side, when the library JPA will meet shortly, you all will then approve it on the library JPA side. Any questions?
Any questions from board members? Would anyone from the audience like to address us on this item on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there any discussion among board members about this reimbursement agreement? No? Relatively self-explanatory? Right. I guess, Rich, I did have just one point of clarification to make sure that we're on the same page. This potentially, should the ballot initiative be successful, of $584,000, that was taken into account when we were talking about the difference between the net proceeds and the bond issuance and the gross proceeds, right? There was already, these costs were anticipated.
Oh, as part of the financial analysis for the bond measure? Absolutely.
Okay. With that,
Can I ask a question which is not necessarily related to this agreement, but we were also going to be getting agreements related to the city's services, and we were supposed to get those at our February meeting. Were they going to come anytime soon?
We inquired about those and we were told they are not ready yet.
Well, I was wondering if maybe Rich could help us with those, because I know they're always very time consuming, and but I thought maybe Rich could do a draft. And we also talked to our attorney, Mr. Kandati, and addressed the issue. There was some questions about whether or not we thought there'd be conflicts, and we said, on the ordinary course of business, we don't think we would have too many, and if we ever needed to, recuse him because there was a legal conflict, we could certainly consider something different. But given that we're talking about reimbursement agreements, I just thought maybe it would be good to ask Rich to help us get those on the agenda.
I have been speaking to City of Santa Cruz staff who's working on those agreements, and originally it was programmed for this agenda, so that was their goal.
Well, originally it was programmed for December, Jamie.
I know, but I guess what I was just going to reiterate was that they are working on it, and I think having Mr. Hill follow through and see if there's any assistance he can provide is certainly worth doing. But I do know, I've been putting pressure on Santa Cruz staff to the extent that I can, that we do want to see those agreements, because we need.
And we need a unanimous vote, and our suggestion was to, develop them as, as a sort of draft that gives everybody enough early time to, get feedback and share it with the public, because I don't want to keep, Brown Act violations or anything going, but.
And I don't have the intimate details of that. I know last time I heard, I believe that Scott Collins and Nicole
Yeah.
were working on it.
I
But
haven't
that's,
seen anything. I haven't.
so it's been over, okay.
Yeah, it's been.
This is really great to hear, because when I go back tomorrow, I will ask and find out, and I think assistance would probably be very helpful to get that going. Thank you.
So, and it would be handy to have the reimbursement, processes similar between the two agencies.
Yeah.
So I would like to be involved in it anyway, simply because of that. So if it's agreeable with the board, I will follow through for both the library CPA and the LFFA. Is that agreeable to the board?
That would be very helpful.
And
Thank
who do
you.
I contact at the city?
I believe it's Scott Collins.
It is Scott.
Scott Collins?
Collins, yes.
I can send you this.
Great. And Nicole, you with the county? Okay, and those are the two main players, Capitola, Scotts Valley, does not, just doing correctly.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see the draft.
Yeah, of
the draft prepared, but I'm
Okay,
comfortable
that's
with those, that being the team.
Yeah.
Great.
And let me, just by way of background for Rich, we do have in our JPA agreement certain minimum things that we put in there regarding the services. And again, there's things like attorneys and purchasing and staffing. And I mean, even the reimbursements for the staff in the library, I don't know how those are being made because we don't have any agreement to provide that reimbursement. So I'm assuming the city wants that money at some point soon.
Yeah, and I have some ideas with regards to that too, so.
Great.
Yeah, I'd be glad to be included in that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, bringing it back to the reimbursement agreement
That we do have.
that we do have in front of us this evening, which is between the LFFA and the library JPA. Is there a motion to approve?
I would move approval.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that takes us to the next item on our agenda for general business. This is the Library Facilities Financing Authority and CFD, the 2015 fiscal year budget. Seems appropriate that we would be adopting a budget, and nicely the number seems to match the amount that's identified in the agreement.
I would move approval of the agreement.
All right, is there any public comment, or do we have a second on that?
A second.
All right, is there any public comment on the proposed budget? This budget directly mirrors the financing and reimbursement agreement between the JPA and the LFFA. Seeing no comment, I'll close the public hearing. Any board discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Budget carries unanimously. All right. So with that brings us to the end of the LFFA meeting for this evening. So I will adjourn this meeting, and it looks like we have a few minutes break, as the next meeting is, we're supposed to call to order at 6:30.
So I do have clarification on the adoption of the budget. I just want to make sure. We have 2 NDS contracts attached to that budget, and so just to make sure that we all understand that adopting the budget approves those contracts. Thank you.
All right, well, with that, I have 6:17 by my clock, so we have a brief break. Anyone needs to use the facilities, I apologize for
You want to look around the library?
Can I just ask a question of Rich? Did we approve those contracts before?
Not at the board level.
Okay, and so the 2 contracts are for which amount?
One is for $10,000, and I think one is for $18,000. I'm sorry, I need to take a look.
Because there's 2 in there, one's 10, one 18, then there's a
Yeah.
15 and a 23.
So where are you looking right now?
I'm looking at page 32 of our agenda pack.
Page 32, thank you. Okay, this is the budget sheet, and the budget sheet identifies all contracts
Check.
for the fiscal year. The only
Right.
ones that have not been approved on this list is the $10,000 special tax method in December of 2015 and the January 19th, 2016. Those two have not been approved, which
Okay.
you have just done so by adopting this budget.
Okay, so if it's agreeable, just for the sake of the record, I would move approval of those two specific agreements and ask the executive director to follow through on them using the city standard contract formats.
I think that already was taken, was covered in the staff recommendation of the previous action.
Yeah, the adoption of this budget automatically approves those.
Does it say that in the
does.
motion?
It does.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, then I withdraw that.
Okay.
All right,
Well, the recommendation says just approve the budget, so I think it's implicit, but if you want to be explicit.
Well-
Yeah, I was trying to be explicit. Okay, I didn't think it said it, but that's why I
Just
asked.
approve the budget, so it was therein that you can authorize the two contracts. It's the other one. But I'll second your motion.
okay.
Just for the sake of clarity.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It's good, we're good.
All right, well, so what we have is a motion to approve those contracts that are contained within the budget we just adopted. There's a motion and a second. Any public comments on that? We've already got a public comment on the budget. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries
Thank
unanimously.
you. Sorry. Little details.
Okay, so now I have 6:20, so we've got about 9 minutes here before we re-adjourn as our library board.
Okay.